Hey everyone, and welcome to another Yogi Misfit sessions. My name is Danni Pomplun, and I am your host. Episode 59, coming at you hot. On today's show, I have Heather Titus on the show, and she is the creator and the founder of the Sedona Yoga Festival. I had the privilege of presenting there this last year, and it was not only a really fun experience, but also the community out there was absolutely insane. I am completely blown away at how her and her husband Mark have really just created this, gnarly community of not only teachers, but also the people that show up every year. The festival is super awesome. I can't recommend it enough. Plus, you're set in Sedona, and if you've never been, it is an absolute amazing place to check out. And make sure you check out show supporter Seawall House Yoga Retreat Center in Northern Maine. They've had ongoing yoga retreats since 1997 that are designed to fit your schedule with coming and departing days of your choice. They've got a ton of workshops happening for 2019. Things like vegan cooking and yoga, July 16th to 20th, stand-up paddleboard from August 12th to the 15th, Free the Artist in yoga, it's a paint thing, August 18th to the 23rd, Women's Mental Health Weekend, Labor Day weekend, and their popular annual yoga and writing weekend this year on Columbus Day, October 12th to the 14th. All the workshops are hosted by fabulous presenters and are great gift civic ideas for giveaways. Treat yourself or do it with a friend that you loved. Check out their TripAdvisor, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and join their newsletter too at www.seawallhouse.com. That's www.seawallhouse.com. Updates or call them at 646-316-5151. I can't tell you guys how many times people ask me where I get my shirt that says "Go Love Yourself" that's on the cover of this podcast. And it comes from my friends over at Breathe in Detroit. They are a rad local Detroit-based company. All their products are eco-friendly, and a portion of their sales goes right back into the community, so it's super cool. Not only is their gear awesome, the owners are super passionate about helping others. If you check out their website, breatheindetroit.com, not only will you fall in love with all of their gear, but you can also use the code DANNI20, that's DANNI 20, to get a little bit of a discount on checkout. Please support them as they are a big supporter of this show. As always, I'd like to thank our friends over at SF Yoga Magazine for giving us all the love in the world. We love you back. All right, so you like the show. I know you like the show. That's why you're listening to it. But we could use your support. Leave a review on iTunes, as it not only helps the show grow, but it also spreads the word so that other people can also check out the show as well. There is a little link below that tells you how exactly to leave a review on iTunes. And not only that, you're going to feel so good, as Andrea says. Without further ado, here is the show. Hey Heather, how are you?
Hi, Danny. I'm good.
First off, I got to tell you that I'm really excited that we finally get to talk.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
We're both busy beavers.
It's true, and months go by, so I'm really grateful to be here.
And I'm sure too. Like once you're done with your big project every year, it's like before it's even done, the next year is already on the plate.
It's true. It's true. Somehow it has become, some folks have called it, like the annual pilgrimage to Sedona. So everybody wants to know when the next one is, which is great.
For those of you that are tuning in, Heather is one of the founders of the Sedona Yoga Festival, which I presented at last year and got to hang out with you and Mark and everybody else that was there. It was super fun, really great event. Not only that, it's nestled right in Sedona, Arizona. And if you've never been there before, it is it's like a whole nother planet being in Sedona.
Or it's like a whole other galaxy.
Yeah, it did perfect. Yeah, even better. It's like a whole nother galaxy in Sedona. The landscape is just insane. Like it's so beautiful out there.
It's never not beautiful, fall and winter here, spectacular. Of course, nothing like winter in the rest of the country. We get the sunshine all year long, but
Yeah, yeah.
I,
And you guys have lived there full time for how long?
Mark's been here about 11 or 12 years, I think.
Okay.
I've been here about 7 years. Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Mark is Heather's husband, and I like to call Mark my bromance partner. We we often geek out on social media about motorcycles or whatever it is, whatever else it is that we're doing. He's super fun I wish he was here. He's super fun to chat with, and he's always got some really good insights.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So you ride a motorcycle, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah. He had posted something about like him going on a motorcycle trip, or he had done something recently, and I was like, because I know we were hanging out at the festival, like we were just kind of rapping and shooting the shit, and then I saw him post about motorcycles. I was like, of course, yep, we're definitely gonna get along on that one too.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
He's gotten me on the back of the motorcycle once or twice. I'm more of a one foot in front of the other.
yeah. They're definitely not for everybody, and I mean, I can't tell you how many times people are always like, Danny, be careful, Danny, be careful, and I totally understand, and as a partner, you have 100% full permission to be concerned.
Oh, good. Thank you
Yeah,
for
right.
reassuring words. No, but
Totally.
those kind of differences between us really have helped us to create what we've created, not just the Sedona Yoga Festival, but the studio here in Sedona, home base Sedona, and taking people out on the land because we do things so differently.
Yeah.
Mark will just tear in and be like, random talking video, just put it all out there right now. And I'm like, whoa, let's make sure this is going to work, like really considerate programming and,
Right.
the Dharma of building it. So yeah, it's a nice compliment, but
So,
I don't think I'll get a motorcycle anytime soon.
do you guys? Well, there's a couple. So, a couple parts I want to dive into. So, you were a yoga practitioner, and Mark was a yoga practitioner before you guys met, correct? Or did you guys start yoga together?
Oh yeah, definitely before we met. Hmm.
Okay. Okay. And then like I want to dive into the festival, and I also want to hear a little more about your backstory in yoga, and maybe just like a little brief, like how did you get started and how did your journey begin in yoga?
Wow, just the fact that you're asking this question today just put like a light bulb off. I was contemplating how in the last year, some of the obstacles just had to become so great that I would recognize that any stress I was experiencing was coming completely from within myself. And the question, my answer would be, oh, I went to yoga for stress relief, like 30 years
Hmm.
ago. So I
Hmm.
just put two and two together. I'm like, wow, the yoga does amazing things. And here we are, 30 years on, and apparently I'm still working on that. No, no, it really has worked. It just had to go to its culminating level in the
Yeah.
last couple of years. So for me, I actually came to yoga through martial arts. I was practicing martial arts and producing events and art
Hmm.
exhibitions, living in New York City, really busy event and production kind of lifestyle.
Hmm.
And there was, let's just call it an incident where I learned about myself that I was never going to hit anybody or harm it. It wasn't going to happen.
Hmm.
I was able to protect myself and then protect the other person. And I was like, what's happening here? And what was happening was that the mind body spirit connection, to use the kind of old school language around it, was what was making a difference in my life. And I took my first ever yoga class at Integral Yoga on 12th Street in the West Village in New York City and had an amazing Shavasana and just never looked back. It's been it's been a long journey. When I finally took a training with a teacher for the very first time, I'd been practicing for 5 or 6 years, going to classes, and I put myself in the shoes of the people who come to classes here in this way because I don't know why I thought I couldn't do it myself. And so to finally have someone say, Oh, just here's, some tips and tools and techniques for you, go home and do it.
Right. I often refer to yoga teacher training as almost like life training. I mean, it's
Right.
very similar where you get to, there's not a lot of scenarios where you're in a deep dive situation, and where this deep dive is not only asking you to learn about a practice or whatever it is, but also to deep dive in yourself, because that's what like teacher training. Sure, you'll learn how to teach yoga, but also when you get to philosophy and yamas and niyamas, and you're asked to look at that for yourself, it unlocks a whole nother layer.
Right. Yeah. I've, I would put it this way. This is one way I would put it. You can come to yoga, for a nice body, or because your doctor said this is really good
Mm-hmm.
for your back, or for stress relief, or even community. But ultimately, what's going to happen is the yoga is going to start working on you and
Mm-hmm.
peeling back the layers. And, a lot of times that starts to happen even before people have the opportunity to dive into yoga philosophy, right? Because you are linking into the flow of life, through the breath, connection with the prana, to the asana, even just all by itself is a science, and it will do its work on you. So, but yeah, the deep trainings, and I have done many. I'm really blessed to have the opportunity to study with a number of teachers, and have my daily practice, the greatest teacher, and will just keep unraveling, keep taking away the layers of, bullshit, I guess. I don't know if we're on the
Yeah.
radio, that are preventing you from actually just loving and just being and listening and relating.
Did you think, I mean, I guess kind of in looking back at what you did in your journey, I know that events were part of your background, or now I know that events were part of your background. Did you think at all at any given point that you were, one, going to start teaching, and then two, like birth this baby of Sedona Yoga Festival? Was that like, could you have imagined that when you first started, or was it just like a natural, like, of course, this is what I want to do. Like, I do events and I love this yoga thing. Like,
Well,
how did that?
it had its different kind of ups and downs. Like, I left events, a festival I began in Vermont, a community arts and family and bicycles and all of that festival, just had its 15th year. And I had shepherded that off, to a number of community members who had done so much to support it over the years, formed a board, and here you go, because I didn't want to do events anymore. And so that's when my practice became really deep, and I spent a lot of time by myself and traveling and just exploring. And so when I arrived in Sedona, I was all, namaste. I'm just here to meditate. This is, what I'm going to do. And and then I met Mark, and he, um, as you said, or inquired earlier, had a practice of his own. I had a practice. We were both had reached that point of like total inner happiness and balance individually, right, separately from one another. And so he was smart enough, knowing that I had left the world of events, to not mention that he had founded and was envisioning this big festival
Mm-hmm.
that was supposed to happen in about, probably 9 months after we met. And so it took him a few months, and then he started saying, "Hey, listen, I need your help. Let me tell you what I'm doing." And I said, "No way, no, you just call me when you're done working, and we'll go for a hike." And
It was the slow
yeah,
rope
and
in.
he was, but then, we're like all madly in love, and, and he's like, "Please," I'm like, "No," and he's like, but, ultimately, when I kind of looked at my journaling and my experience in Sedona already, I like to say, Mark founded this event, but I like to say, oh, I probably would have done something like this. And I don't think I would have
Mm-hmm.
lasted long, because in retrospect, this is my innate skill set, now married
Mm-hmm.
with my passion. It wasn't working for me because
Right.
I was working I hadn't found my place, my tribe, whatever you want to call it. And so it was exhausting my energy being an introvert, right? And however, yoga, I'm so passionate about yoga, living my yoga, um, studying yoga, even being in the yoga business. And we can talk more about that later. So we pulled it off that first year and we kept going. But that my first event happened when I was like 5, the first theater company was when I was like 8. I just naturally want to bring people together and to do more. How can we as a community where everyone gets to have a role, and it more ends up looking like what that particular group of people that showed up
Mm-hmm.
then like, I want this created, who's going to do it. It's just a dharma, a path. It's who I am.
You guys are now in year
This
6?
will be the 7th
Seven.
annual. Mm-hmm.
Wow. I guess from year 1 to year 7, that's a whole lot, right? What have you seen? Like, what are the biggest changes that you've seen? And not like there's a new venue and there's, a different room, but like, what do you feel has been the biggest shift and change from year 1 to year 7 in the event? And why do you think that shift has happened?
What I've really been noticing this year in the planning and last year is just that it's very appealing to really authentic seekers. And so there are a lot of people who actually teach yoga, who come annually year after year and, are really getting something out of it. And at the same time, people who are just like, what's yoga, feel comfortable coming here to, either be introduced to the practice or to deepen their practice. And it's a very, I guess, intelligent and intelligent in the sense of like, maybe what I mean by that is connected to the intelligent life force, but tribe.
Sure.
And I think part of that is the way that we've talked with people, the way that we've chosen to communicate is, that people they are intelligent. And also that, every year that some like system or venue or detail gets kind of sorted out, there's more time to program, right? And like I was saying before, everybody who shows up sort of makes it. And so in reviewing applications, which we get such outstanding proposals from people doing just amazing work around the country and the world every year, inspirations flow through, and Sedona helps to sort of give us that intuitive push as to what the resonant theme or sensation of the event might be on any given year. So part of it is that the way we program, is really creative. And the other, but really what's happened is that people are really coming here to have fun, celebrate each other, dive deep, and like really transform. And this, the powerful land here helps with that as well, so that's what we've seen. The first years we were just great intentions, but just going for it, right? And now, the other big change is I think people just assume that we're, we must be really well established. We're in year 7, like, we must. It's such a small little grassroots experience that's something I want to convey. That really hasn't changed. There's, Mark and Heather, and then there's a team of like really awesome people, and we somehow pull it off.
What has been, well, a couple of things. Like, I can totally agree with you. Like, there were so many teachers that were there to experience the festival. That was mind blowing to me. A lot of people that came to, like, I ended up speaking to obviously a lot of students that came to classes as we normally do. And more than a couple handfuls were teachers. I remember specifically in the backbending workshop that I taught, maybe 8 or 9 people were like, can we get together and chat about this theory? And, what you talked about here, I teach over at this place. I teach over at this place. I want to integrate this into teachings. And totally, I can see you guys have a really strong base of not just everyday practitioners, but also people that want to go deeper in their teaching or want to learn theory or philosophy or whatever it is that they're going out there to get. There's a lot of teachers out there. That was pretty cool to see and witness. What is you were saying, like, from year 1 to 7, year 1, you're like, let's go for it. That reminds me of like when I first wanted to do this podcast. I was like, I'm just going to figure it out. And now it's a little more, I've tightened up the ship a little bit and my processes have changed. From year 1 to 7, what has been the highest high and the lowest low? And I'm talking like what was your variation of that win? And what was a situation where you were just like, why do I do this?
Okay. Okay, so I'll start with the lowest low. Being, an event planner, kind of you need to put on that hat where you think of everything that might go wrong, right? So,
right,
and work
right.
my way up to the highest high, so we can leave it on a high note there. But gosh,
Yeah.
That's a tough one. It would definitely be one of the handful of years where we've come out under financially, right? Instead of,
Mm-hmm.
breaking even or over. And yeah, I don't know if I want to dive into like a super low. I'm trying to think. I guess last year we were a homeless we didn't have a venue. And you were part of last year. So you saw in the end, we ended up having like 20 venues because we have all these little rooms and just whatever we could get our hands on. Right. And it really hit like a burnout, literally like this is a struggle. Of course that's all part of the, this learning. It's really taught me to relax and relax more and relax more. And, and then of course the things that I'm studying now with my teachers and experiencing more, it really is, about ease, about effortlessness, even in action. Right. And so wonderful lessons there, but it was a beautiful, like, I thought I'm going to dive in and read all, the testimonials, and people just started sending me random stuff about like, this totally transformed my life and the way I relate to my community when I get home, or, just the messages that kept coming. And then it was like, oh, that's why this is why we're doing it. That's why I'm doing it. This is why we're doing it, because it can be really tough, like just on sleep and money and all just these kind of worldly things. So, but it's all part of the journey. So let's move on to the highest high.
Well, how many people did you guys have there last year? Actually, it's
a few usually thousand, right? About 2,000 people.
So, rightfully so, not having a home and having 2,000 people come in as your guest and friends would totally stress me out.
Well, it was good. The stress kind of happened around like June, July, August, September, maybe even into October, like of 2017. Right. So, I had to work through all that. I had to recognize that where it was really coming from, because this is first world problems, and that comforted me sometimes, because I was like, wow, really, like, come on, but it's different because it wasn't going to work this time to just like pull up my bootstraps and be like, I got this, I'm going to muscle through. Like, that just wasn't going to fly, because it's not what we're doing. It's not what we're trying to share, and the one thing that happens is whatever obstacles that we experience, in running this event or business, or, within life, just are informed by the practice. Actually, the way to respond and shift is really informed, for me personally, by yoga, by not just philosophy, but just what you can really embody. So,
Wait, so are you trying to tell me that yoga is more than poses?
oh, it's the whole thing.
So let's dive into the highest high. Like, when were you just like, yeah, Heather, this
You
is
know,
why
it
you're
was
doing it.
oh gosh, there have been so many. And something about bringing ceremony into it in which I think was the
Mm-hmm.
third year. Like we'd had stage time, main stage kind of time. Like, oh, hey, we're going to be here and this is going to be happening. And, but we brought ceremony into it consciously. And that just became
Mm-hmm.
really important. And I feel like the first time we did that, something really shifted, like the connection of everybody who was present. And, um, and when I realized that we had trained, when we partnered and got our yoga for PTSD training, which we've had as part of the festival every year since the second year, we partnered to
Mm-hmm.
have that distributed digitally as well. And when I realized we had trained like 500 teachers online, in addition to the 400 teachers that have come to this training every year, I was like, whoa, that's almost 1,000 teachers who are, most of them have gone
Yeah,
into their community, to figure out how to bring yoga to first responders, yoga to veterans, yoga,
sure.
TBI athletes, just people in really stressful jobs. So, so that
Right,
was
right.
pretty huge. And part of our journey has been, there's a lot of talk and discussion and study around yoga for trauma in our conference, which I don't think is necessarily limited to the people that could say and identify with having PTSD, like Mark has had his journey with PTSD. And interestingly, we planned the first yoga for PTSD training before he was experiencing it, before it kicked in, so to speak, right? Yeah. So, but it's not just for, Mark and veterans and other people who have been more, have experienced more trauma and have nervous system damage, or mental aspects to work with
Mm-hmm.
and work around. But I feel that society as a whole right now in the United States, I just look around and everybody, it just feels so much more intense. Like everybody's in their sympathetic nervous system, what do you think about that? I mean, do you feel like people are more stressed out now than maybe if you look back like 10, 15 years ago?
I mean, it's like, well, a couple parts. I agree with you. Like, I think something that you guys is like a high. Like, what I was really attracted to on the festival was like, I love that you guys offer that PTSD thing. That's so cool, and it's like a staple now. And you're offering so much more than just like, hey, come to this yoga festival and do the yoga things and all the booths and stuff. But like, you're actually giving something to the community. So one, thank you for that. Two, I go through these phases of like whether people are stressed out or not. And I think, I have to remind myself daily, whether it's, when I'm teaching or when I'm not teaching or when I'm trying to do marketing or whatever, like, am I stressing myself out because I need to? No. But two, am I feeling the pressures around the world? And then giving myself a little more space to just be human and recognize, like, the sooner that I can call that out, the sooner that I can become friends with it. It's that roommate upstairs that you have in your head that just wants to be heard and seen. And I think most people go through that. We get stressed out because we think, like, kind of like you said earlier, the money, the whatever it is, all these worldly things we think are important because we've had it, kind of just handed to us every day. It's in our faces every day, not kind of, it's so in our faces. But I do think that there are these small moments, right, where you have teachers like yourself or a festival or, a retreat where you can just kind of take a step back. And when you take that step back, when you have those outside forces removed a bit, it kind of brings you back into reset mode where you get to, like, hit that button where you're like, okay, I recognize it. X, Y, and Z is not real. You know, you have the tools and techniques from yoga, or from a practice, or from pranayama, or from meditation, or from self-study. And it can, you know, it starts to peel away the layers of the veil. Now, here's the part about it, is that it never goes away. What it is just you becoming more self-aware of that. So sometimes you lose your sense of practice, right? Or you start to disconnect to certain parts of the practice, and thus the stress level comes up, right? When we feel the stress of others, it literally impacts us magnetically. You can, you know, a person's emotions are magnetic. But we have teachers for a reason, right? We have teachers and practice so that we can, again, go back to that zero start. We get to choose whether we want to be stressed out or not. It's at the end of the day, the choice is always us if we want to buy into that story or not.
Exactly. And it's somehow becoming kind of a theme of this conversation, right? But
Yeah.
yeah. And so the reset of being able to come to Sedona for, you know, Sedona Yoga Festival, I will admit to a little bit of a bias this year to more parasympathetic practices, right? Like we have more yoga nidra. We talk about what happens to your nervous system, what happens to your brain, because these people who can come, who are lucky enough, right, and fortunate enough to be able to do a retreat, can get that reset that you're talking about. And maybe they're overall a little more stressed out, or maybe they're not. Maybe that is literally just, you know, my perception. But I feel that it's important, and it probably has always been like this, that if we can't calm down and relax, then we can't really even offer our fullest, right? Just like the process of then being able to work with more, and it's probably different for everybody, but more fiery practices, be in more action, you know, be totally in your flow, like in your dharma. And for people listening, you know, dharma, like your soul's intention of your work, your contribution, and what you do. So you kind of have to be calm there first. And I think that's why we integrate it. And along with a whole bunch of really fun, rockin', you know, active classes that are available a weekend. You know, it's got to be balanced. And don't knock the booths, because we do have always made a point of asking all of our vendors, you know, how do you give back? How do you produce ethically? You know, basically, are you green? Do you give back? Are you thoughtful? Are you conscious? So we've actually, you know, been fortunate enough to launch a few really cool products at SYF, and are really choosy about who comes. And so it's really nice to see all these conscious businesses making cool stuff.
And being able to support them making cool stuff. What are you, okay, I got one more question for you. Here goes the big one. What are you most excited about? A, and B, you can say no. Can you let us in on any little secret that nobody knows yet?
Oh boy. What do you mean? Okay. Are you talking about for this year's event?
Yeah, for this year's event coming up. What are you most excited about?
I'm super excited about these round table discussions. So I'm super excited about the talking part, but I really, really am, because basically, like, so many really wise people who are ready to explore and dig deep and teach, and they have just lifetimes of experience and their own amazing teachers. We've had these panels before, and that's, you know, a panel format. Everyone's facing the audience. You pass the microphone around in the audience. But I did a whole bunch of panels last year at the last minute, which, even though everyone was going to be driving around town all weekend, right? So there was one, and the presenter came up to me and she said, you know, nobody came. And I was like, oh, I'm really sorry. She said, no, it was amazing. We just sat around and talked about the topic you had chosen for us. So I went, whoa, okay. So they're going to be sitting around a table talking about a topic. And I'm really hoping to live stream this or something, you know, maybe some excellent video people will show up and say, let me help you with this. But to really let this conversation be more widely broadcast, because these are the conversations that we want to be having. I mean, everything on guru or
Right.
health or spiritual bypassing, or just a million topics we could go into, especially in Sedona, which is a very metaphysical place. And so I'm really excited about those. And then, to be honest with you, I don't know if it would be a secret anymore by the time you air the podcast.
Oh, well, let's hear it.
I don't have any secrets.
Okay.
I'm really
Fair
trying
enough.
to think of something for you. I'm like, no. One of the other things we're going to do
Yeah.
this year is so many people have written some amazing books. So just kind of have a little book fair in the middle of the week. Yeah, these are in
Cool.
addition to like the kids yoga is all weekend long, all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. And the teachers who come from all over the country and world who teach kids are offering stuff, and some local teachers. So, music, dance, fun, food, vendors, it's kind of all there. And yet it wouldn't be the same if nobody showed up. So it will always become, what it is when the people get here and who they are.
I'm so excited to see what ends up, coming up this year. I know you guys are going to be cooking up some really, really, really fun times, as I got to experience last year. I'm bummed out I won't be able to join you guys this year because I'll be out in Bali leading a retreat, which I'm excited to be at the retreat. But I wish I could be at two places at once. I had a really, really, really good time connecting with everybody, meeting fellow teachers, some people that I really look up to, connecting with you, romancing with Mark. This is an all around good time. So I can't wait to see what you guys are cooking up. I know it's going to be really awesome and amazing for, again, the listeners. Like, this is one of my favorite yoga festivals. I had such a great time presenting, one, but two, it was a really great way to connect. I mean, I made some really good friends that I still talk to now while I was out there. So thank you guys for putting together this event and for continuing to leave a place for yogis and teachers alike to go in refuge, and not a bad place to escape to for a little weekend.
Other than Florida, might be the only place in the country that's really nice out in March. So no, we'll miss you this year.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I really appreciate this time and being able to talk about the event. And I'm just super grateful to be able to orchestrate this and program it, and to be a part of this amazing community.
I'll have to jump into one of your live streams, maybe while I'm out in Bali, to some of the talks. That would be really, really, really cool.
I'm really excited.
I'll leave all the links in the show notes on how to get more information on buying your tickets, taking a look at the presenters that are going to be there, and any other specials that are happening just before the festival is coming up. Heather, thank you so much for taking the time out and coming on the show today. And again, just thank you for creating the event that you have, because it's really, really, really fun. And I was looking forward to it this year, but I won't be there, but I'll be there in spirit.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, and until the next Yogi Misfit session, this is Danny and Heather saying peace out.
Bye.
And guys, remember to check out Seawall House and all the amazing workshops they've got planned for 2019. That's www.seawallhouse.com. SEWALLHOUSE.com.